Tripping on Air podcast, streaming now on YouTube. My name is Ardra. I live in Toronto. I am a wife, a dog mom, an aunt. I'm a writer, and I have MS.
I'm Alex. I'm also from Toronto. I'm a cat dad. I work in engineering in my spare time. I play music and I make podcasts.
I like to say that Tripping on Air is a place to talk shit about what it's really like to have MS. I mean, gossip gets a bad rap, but I think when MS is the common enemy, gossip is used for good. Like, we find community. You're not gonna figure out how to live with MS in the doctor's office.
Mainly it's a conversation between Ardra and myself, Ardra being the person living with MS, and me, I live with a person who has MS. And so there's two perspectives, and we try to give that to the audience.
There are a number of podcasts about MS and a number of good ones too. I think what makes ours a bit different is that we have the partner perspective and the patient perspective. There's also a real irreverence to the Tripping on Air podcast. We really believe in telling it like it is, not sugarcoating it. Tripping on Air was a blog before it became a podcast. As a writer, I'm a bit of a control freak, and I'm also a bit of a motor mouth. So I kind of have a little bit of anxiety still that I'm gonna ramble on and maybe not be as efficient with my words. A lot of my words are also swear words, so.
Yeah, but that's funny. My wife, in searching for that sort of community of people who have MS and people who speak about it and who are real about it, found Ardra and suggested that, I have her on my podcast as a guest. We just happened to get along really well, I think. And then several months later, I get a phone call and Ardra was like, "Do you want to be on this podcast?" I'm like, "Well, I do enjoy the sound of my own voice, and I understand my own perspective in this journey, so let's do it." You have a dynamic with your partner where you can share these stories, but maybe you don't do that with everyone.
Yeah.
So if you find that other person, whether they're a friend or a partner or whatever, and you can share those stories, then it's really meaningful.
When I started my blog, one of the first posts that I wrote was called "Honey, I Peed the Bed," because I was like, if I'm gonna contribute to this space, I need to create the kind of content that I was searching for. I need to talk about this stuff that nobody seems to be talking about, and I think that's why the blog resonated. And so I want to bring the same thing to the podcast space. So I need my co-host and partner in this to be able to have the same level of vulnerability and authenticity. And so I really appreciate that about what you bring to the show, Alex, because it's not helping anyone to just pretend like any of this is easy.
Yeah, no, and I tend to overshare, so I think that's what makes it a good partnership too.
My favorite part of the podcast is the part that's totally out of my hands.
Right.
Like, once we've finished recording and it's done and out of my hands and it's been posted and I can see the feedback and comments and I can interact with people that it's resonated with. The rest of the time, I love it, but I'm super stressing about it.
True. My favorite part of the podcast is doing the gift guide episodes, especially last year when we got together here and had lots of treats and drinks. That was pretty.
Your favorite part of the show is getting paid to drink and give away free stuff.
Who wouldn't enjoy that?
They'll drink to that. We don't drinks now. I often hear from people who tell me that they think differently about their MS, or that the blog or the pod has helped them think about mobility aids in a different way. I heard from a doctor recently who is speaking differently to her students and patients because she's thinking about wheelchair use differently. I feel like if I can help somebody get there and feel good about themselves, that is important work. It's really rewarding. What is multiple sclerosis? It is a chronic progressive illness which affects the brain, the spinal cord, and the optic nerve. So chronic means forever, and progressive in this case does not mean it gets better. It can get worse. So when you're dealing with the central nervous system, basically anything that can go wrong might go wrong?
There are sort of symptoms that lead to, there's spasticity, there are fatigue is obviously another symptom. There's lots of symptoms that exist that they're happening. Like there's been situations where, my partner's been, she kind of grabs her leg, or she's getting, what is it, tingles, I guess? Tingling?
Numbness?
That's a
tingling,
word?
Tingles?
Yeah. Tingles, let's say, tingling, but
like not in the sexy way. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, well, we're in a public place or something, but the immediate reaction of everybody's, "Are you jumping in? Are you okay? Are you okay?" But it's like, this is just happening. It's just something that happening. It's not something you can kind of help by offering help. It's weird because it's different for everybody as well. One person with MS is not going to necessarily have the same symptoms or the same progression at their age than someone else. So.
There are a lot of symptoms that are more common than others. So bladder, bowel dysfunction, difficulty with mobility, vision loss is something, numbness, spasticity, tingling. But when I say like anything that can go wrong might go wrong, it really is that. You can have, I had problems with hearing at one point, speaking and swallowing. It's like the list is a drag. It's also what we would describe as an episodic illness. So you can have kind of a flare up and then some recovery.
You might lose function of something in your body. You might get some of it back. You might never get it back. So, but like Ardra said, you never go back to baseline.
So many of the things that help me the most are things that I heard about, not from doctors, but from other people with MS. And so having a bigger platform to share a lot of those hacks and tricks, I think, is really helpful. All of these conversations are so relevant no matter what you're going through. These are issues that affect all of us.
Tripping on Air podcast, streaming now on YouTube.